Hey everybody, it's Evan with a quick disclaimer at the top of this episode. If you forgot from the last episode, or for some reason didn't listen to the last episode, we actually flipped episodes 121 and 122, so you will see it say episode 122 on the cover art and wherever you download it, but in the course of the episode, we say episode 121. So we flipped the two due to timeliness and relevancy, and actually, as it turns out, this one is slightly more timely now because the products discussed therein will soon be available. So with that, this is episode 122. Thank you, and enjoy! Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Jodo Cast, your Star Wars gaming podcast. This is episode 121. My name is Evan Lewis. I am, of course, joined by Leo Andry.
Hello.
And Joe Latovsky.
I was going to do the thing busy. Where we... last time I said I think I was going to try and introduce myself with a different Star Wars quote each time, but I didn't have them prepared, so I was stuck. And then it turned into this, and I failed. Hello.
Well, for your failure, they tried and failed. They tried and died. This is going to be all night Dune quotes. So apologies ahead of time for your abject failure, Joe. Oh. For your failure to act, you have to introduce our guest.
Joining us this week in not being eaten by sandworms. See, I can make Dune references too. It's Kurt Larson.
Hey,
he's been around.
I'm back.
This guy. You may have remembered him from things like when we talked about Armada last time, probably. He's been on Clumsy and Random before.
It's probably been a few years since we talked about Armada stuff.
Well, that all changes tonight. That's what this episode's about, if you didn't read the title before listening.
You know, some people don't. They like to be surprised.
Well...
So let's not try to spoil it for those people.
It's
a spoiler-free intro.
You can rewind and then skip ahead over this part, so you didn't have to hear it.
The non-spoilers start in 2 minutes in. But before that, we got to talk about some people who spoil us with generosity. And that is the patrons who give their time and toil over at patreon.com/thejodocast so that we can act like fools and forget how to do an intro on here for you week after week, month after month, year after year. So thank you to them for making this travesty possible. And if you want more information about that, go to jodocast.com. There's links to that and everywhere else, including the Discord, where you should come and hang out with us because it's full of cool people like Kurt who will answer all of your questions about life, the universe, and everything. And
if your last name started with a T, Travis would be a great name for your child.
Back on topic, I guess, after that really random...
His name would be Travis T. Wouldn't be good for him.
I did get in the mail today a gift to all of our patrons. Well, all of the $2 and above patrons.
Oh.
Yeah, I sent out copies of the expansion, well, sort of expansion that they put out for
that one game.
Star Wars Destiny. There we go.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah. The small little 13-card expansion. There's a lot of the transformations.
The one that they were
the
probably going to give out in person at Worlds if everything wasn't terrible.
Which is probably never going to happen now. Yeah. Sad. But yeah, I got some really nice copies of all those cards printed up and shipped out to the patrons today. So, depending on how fast this is edited and where you live, you may already have them in hand as you're listening to this.
Cherishing them.
What he's saying is that Evan is really, really slow at editing.
I didn't even mean to say that or imply that.
It just comes naturally.
No, it's not even that. It's just sometimes mail goes fast. It could be like a day or two if you're close to me. If you're one of our international patrons, though, it could be a few months. So you probably won't have them yet. So
well, I guess all the Dune talk might already reveal when this was recorded. Not that it's like a secret, but I think it would be fun if we made a lot of references that are out of date by the time this podcast comes out.
I mean, I feel like there's always a lot of Dune references,
Not enough.
at least on Discord.
Not nearly. We should add another room to the Discord that is just Dune talk. And we can call it, wait for it, Talk Without Rhythm.
Oh.
Drop the mic.
I was going to say that we were going to name that channel Siege Tabar.
Ooh.
Talk Without Rhythm sounds like it would be a good podcast. Is there not already a podcast called that?
Well, geez, I hope we didn't give away our secret plans, because someone's going to run with that.
Yeah, I actually already trademarked that name just in case. So.
And on there, we just stream playing the Dune CCG all the time.
Stream us trying to figure out how the hell to play the Dune CCG.
We read the instruction book.
That sounds like appropriate for the book, though. People seem to have consensus that the book is very good, but you kind of got to read it a lot to like get your head around it. Is that right? So maybe the designers of the CCG were going for that.
So we just need to watch the film version of the CCG first, and then go back and read it. It's like, okay, I get this. That's how it was for me as a child trying to read Dune as like a 10-year-old. Okay, this is not Talk Without Rhythm, although maybe in the future it will be, because I think that's I'm gonna blow my own trumpet. That's pretty good.
You can
yes.
I don't know. I was gonna say you could Padawan Knight Master me on that. If it's not become clear, I've never read Dune, and I don't remember the movie, although I have watched it. One of them. Is there more than one?
There's one movie and one television miniseries.
All of my Dune knowledge comes from
soon to be 2 movies.
What I pick up from you guys, because you talk about it all the time.
And the
board game. I played the board game.
And I don't know any of the terms that well.
The Dune Men? The
Duners? The Worm, the Spice Gilder, and the...
Spice Girls?
Yeah, there are Spice Girls. They're called Navigators, and they look like weird bat turds in a bucket. Do we want to do what we've been playing? Because it's a little hard to do playing in this day and age.
I did some playing.
I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Well, what you been playing, gentlemen?
I played some Outer Rim with Bethany, and that was fun. 2-player. Actually, it's very good 2-player. I played some... I tried The Sims to try and see if I could get into The Sims enough to want to get the Galaxy's Edge DLC, and I couldn't. I got very bored in the tutorial, because she's like, your Sim needs to go to bed. Your Sim needs to go pee. Don't worry, we won't look. Your Sim needs to talk to your housemate. She made dinner. I'm like... I was kind of excited because I love making characters. And I made a guy who I thought looked kind of like me. And then I started playing. I was like... I mean, I'm sure it opens up once I get through the tutorial, but it's not... I got other games to play.
I mean, not really. It's just kind of like think of like a really mundane, boring day, and then just think of reliving that day over and over again in the video game, where it's not like, you're at home and you're like, oh, I gotta cook food. Oh, now I gotta clean up my mess.
I feel like,
oh, now it's time to go to work. Now I'm home from work and I gotta cook again.
Maybe you need the expansions,
That's
like the Star Wars one.
the entire Sims
or
experience.
But like, there's like vampires and stuff, so you could be like, you went.
Oh yeah, so you can be a vampire and be like, oh, I gotta cook my dinner. Oh, I gotta go to work. And it's no different. It's just sort of like if you were like a weird cosplayer, who dressed up as a vampire all the time, but then still did all your normal mundane.
They haven't shown that much of the expansion, but I assume it's going to be a lot more story-based than the typical expansion. I think it's going to be like the, was it The Sims Medieval, where you actually had like mission objectives and story quests and things to do.
I mean, it came out.
It could be like that
yesterday, so it's
actually out. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah. Didn't you watch the JodoCast monthly news roundup video for August? There was a release date in that video. That's the only place they released that news.
Sounds like you need to play it and then do an official review video or something.
I mean,
report back.
I could.
I shan't.
All right.
I'd probably have to like get into it without playing much of the tutorial anyways, because I just can't sit through that right now. So I'd just buy it and get into it, and I'd probably be like, how do I do this? Although it seemed pretty obvious from the tutorial, you just click on a thing, and then you just sit there and wait for your dude to do it, and that's all there is.
Pretty much.
I played that. I feel like I might have played something else, but...
At some point, you played something.
Outer Rim and that.
Probably some dango Fallen Order.
I did play some Fallen Order. Thanks.
So did I.
You did, too.
Yeah. And all I had to do was put it on stupid easy mode, and I'm enjoying it.
Good.
Yay! So, I'm cranking through it now.
Yeah, 11 episodes of our playthrough is up now, which I've been having a lot of fun with that. I also finally start putting away my Legion stuff. I finally took out the cards that had been sitting in my storage from when I thought I was going to World.
Did you say that you're played putting away your Legion stuff?
Yes. I have not very good at it because I'm not done yet. I haven't won yet.
And it sounds like he hasn't gotten much practice at that yet either.
Well, I have to empty all my little cards out of my little card binder and then put them all back in because I have so many new cards because I've gotten a number of expansions since I bothered sorting my cards.
That's why you just don't put them in a binder. You just keep them in a box.
Yeah, but then it's harder to find them.
The video version.
Then you gotta walk through them like a card catalog, instead of just opening up to the page and going, "Look, the card I want. Oh, look, I can see all of these cards."
Fumbling, trying to pull it out of the sleeve, and like it won't come out.
Yeah, you still. As if flipping through all the pages is so much less onerous than flipping to the cards.
It's easier so you can see the whole card. Although when you do your list building
has his
online,
on Rolodex.
With the book, it's harder to reorganize them, right? When you add new cards.
I leave space between sections, but it's still every time new cards come out, I gotta shift them all.
Back in X-Wing 1.0, and the first time I had to reorganize because a whole bunch more upgrades came out, I then realized that keeping your upgrade cards in binders is the absolute worst way ever to organize them, and never did it again.
What about your unit cards?
I mean,
they're just in a box too.
Oh.
Are they organized, or you just throw them in? It's not in a card box. It's just a cardboard box.
I've got a card box.
If it makes you feel any better, I have mine in here too.
All of my card binders are dedicated to holding Star Wars CCG cards.
All right. That's perfectly reasonable.
Kurt, have you played anything Star Wars-y?
Well, I was going to play Outer Rim on Tabletop Simulator this weekend, but then my friends were like, I don't want to pay for anything, so we didn't do that.
I
don't know. I've played X-Wing solo matches a few times in the past few months. They just released new rules for that, like updated version, and I haven't played those yet. But I played the first version of them a few times. I thought it was fun to do.
I played X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
Oh, which one won?
Ooh.
The child inside you.
X-Wing. Yes, the child inside me. That's very true. Yeah, I was messing around with making sure my joystick was working on this new computer I got and stuff. So, yeah, got to get ready for Squadrons next month.
You gotta.
Yeah, I still don't have a joystick. We'll probably try with gamepad first just to see, but I might end up ordering. I don't know. I've never had a joystick, so I don't know if like a cheap one would be fine for me or.
I mean,
You just want,
like I
bought
bought
one of the little one stick, one button Atari ones. They're perfect.
Yeah, I bought this guy right here.
A sex toy. Oh, now it looks like a joystick.
Yes.
I think I have that one in my
got-
Amazon list.
It's got a few extra buttons. It's a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, and it's nothing real special by any means as far as joysticks go or anything really complicated, but it's good enough for me and what I want. And I mean, I think well, you said you got it in your Amazon, or you had it looked at it on Amazon recently, but I think it was like maybe $30-$40 when I bought it, something like that.
Wow. They've gone down in price since 20 years ago.
I don't know. I don't seem to remember paying much more than that for my joystick I had when I was a kid either.
Did you pay
But you
for
paid for your joystick?
My mom, you know.
So you don't remember paying. Remember that one summer that she had to sell the car?
And not playing, but I mean, I guess I have actually done a little bit of painting on Legion too, so that's something.
That's the most important thing.
I assembled
That's mostly what I've been doing.
I assembled my AAT, and that was fun.
And you've been having moral struggles about how to paint it ever since.
Yes.
You're just thinking way too hard about it. You just sit down and you put paint on it, and then you call it done.
I will be actually video documenting the whole thing. Maybe. Well, I will be, but I don't know if anyone else will see it. I recorded the whole process of constructing it. I'm going to record all of painting it, and then I'm just going to throw it into a big time lapse and see if that's like enjoyable to watch or not. To, see a whole whatever hour process in like 10 minutes and see if that's a fun.
Yeah, it could be fun.
Thing. Everybody loves a good time lapse.
All right. Well, I think we've been yakety-schmacking long enough on what we've been playing, so let's talk about the only reason we ever invite Kurt back on, and that is to talk about Armada. Because Star Wars Armada is a very good game. I played a demo of it at Gen Con a couple years ago, and I was like, wow, this is really good. But I don't know that I want... And this was 2 years ago, so the future was not exactly bright at the time, and it was another $100 buy-in. But now, they being Fantasy Flight Games, have just shot a whole thing of steroids into Armada, and it's got a second life, but they're not changing the game. It's not a second edition. They just gave it a super mushroom, and it's big boy time again for Armada.
Yeah, it's been a slow couple of years release-wise, but I assume the whole time they've been working on all these new ships that they need to release at once, presumably.
And if anyone is not in the know, which ones are those?
So we're finally getting Clone Wars ships, so Republic and Separatists, and so what they've announced is starter sets, which are basically like new single faction core sets for each of the two new factions. And so the Separatist one comes with one Munificent class Star Frigate and two Hard Cell class interstellar transports, plus Vulture droids. And then the Republic one comes with an Acclamator class assault ship and two Consular class cruisers and some V-19 Torrents. And then there's also Squadron Packs for each of those factions. And then they haven't officially announced yet, but they did show that the next one's supposedly a month after those. Those are supposed to come out in December, and then the next ones in January are supposed to be the Venator, Pelta, Invisible Hand, and Recusant class light destroyer. So supposedly if they keep to their release schedule, we should have like a lot of new stuff to try. And then also there's like some new like card pack things and stuff too.
Mm-hmm. And a dial pack?
Yeah, I don't get at all why anyone would ever buy that. At least today, every ship you buy comes with all the dials it needs. So once you buy more than a couple ships, you have more dials than you could ever use. So I literally see no reason why you would ever...
Weren't you saying people had been asking for that for a long time?
I don't see why they would.
Oh, I could have sworn that you said that.
You did say that in the Discord when it was announced.
For the dial pack?
Yes, you did. And I think maybe you were being sarcastic and it didn't come across, but you did in fact say that in Discord chat as that was announced.
I thought you
could have said it sarcastically. There's no way I said it.
Because I thought you were serious, because I'm like, well, that's weird. I don't know why anyone would need that.
I mean, on the stream, they seemed to have a reason for it. They seemed to be saying, like, yeah, you buy this, you don't need to worry about needing more dials. But I had the same reaction, because I would assume, not being a previous purchaser of Armada, that it was like X-Wing, where you buy an expansion and you get the appropriate number of dials with that purchase.
Unless this is like a stealth announcement that they're moving away from that. But I feel like that would be dumb too, to have someone buy ships off the shelf and then not have what they need to play. That would be worse too. I don't know. It's really strange.
Maybe it's just a thing to put out there for the same whoever is actually buying those Legion barrier packs.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they're not even like premium ones. Like at least like the X-Wing dial packs, they're fancy ones, but these look the exact same as what should be in every other expansion. So it's very weird.
Maybe there's people who just love painting.
Because even if you lose some, you're never using all of the dial thingies you have in your collection. Right?
Yeah, you end up with way too many. As soon as you buy, more ships than you can put on the table at once, then you'll have way more than you'll ever use at a time. So,
or maybe it's just a thing that they're hoping they'll sell to gullible people just getting into the game.
Yeah, if there's some like legal reason they need to, I don't know.
I mean, that seemed to happen a lot. Like again with that barrier pack. When Legion was first coming out, I saw people all the time who were like, "Hey, I'm just getting started in the game. I was going to order a core set and some stormtroopers and some dice and a barrier pack. What do you guys think of this?" or whatever. And then everyone would be like, "No, you do not need the barrier pack. You got those in the core set."
And most people don't even use the ones in the core set.
Or want any more than that ever again.
I honestly don't know where my barriers are right now.
Well, there are some objectives now that actually use barriers, so you better find them.
I think there are
not objectives, but battlefield cards.
Which I haven't played with yet.
Condition cards, that's the word I was looking for.
That actually helps lead us into part of the main meat of this discussion, because Armada, like with Legion and X-Wing previously, have core sets that give you a few actual game pieces for your army or fleet or whatever game it is. But then you also get the half ton of cardboard that you need to play the game. What they've shown us recently on the stream was that is it December? Or is it November? When we get
December is when the new cores come out. Yeah.
So we're getting, like you just said, we get new, essentially, core sets for individual factions rather than the core set being, I can hardly even say half because they're not even as far as I'm aware, but the tiniest bit to start playing with both sides. So my main question, because after seeing this, I got hyped up. I was like, yes, Armada, it's alive, like it has a future, it's gonna be here for a long while, I'm gonna get into it. But I go to the store now, and there's still just the original core set box that has like one Star Destroyer for the Empire and a couple of other little ships for Republic, and that's it. But then all the cardboard. For Rebels. Thank you. It's all the same now. They're all blending together. But then December, we get these 2 packs each for the different sides of the Clone Wars. Where on earth should interested people who are feeling the hype, what would your recommendation be at this point? Like, should we still buy the original core set? Or if we're really just interested in Clone Wars, do we wait and buy the extra packs? Like, where do new people sit right now, in your opinion?
I mean, I would think if you're interested in the original trilogy factions, there's no reason to not just like buy in and get a few of those now if you want to start learning the game or, buying some cool models. But if you're not interested in the old factions, there's no reason to get those. You might as well, at that point, wait until the Clone Wars stuff comes out. And as far as we know, those new starter sets should have all the stuff that you would need to get started. Like, as far as I know, they should have the damage deck and the asteroid tokens, and they should, I guess I haven't seen them confirm this, but they should have the objective cards that you need to play too, like the base set, or possibly new ones. I haven't seen them mention that though, but as far as we know, those new starter sets should be what you need. So unless you want to get into it right away, but the other thing too is, I guess if you really want to start learning it right away, you could get on Vassal or Tabletop Simulator or something, or like borrow, do a demo copy at a store or something like that, and then wait for the actual Clone Wars ones to come out. Realistically, I mean, the first question is always going to be, should I buy 2 cores or whatever, right? And honestly, one starter set is not going to have enough to at least do like a tournament-sized match, which is 400 points. Because they're pretty small ships. We haven't seen that much about the points yet, but even if you loaded them up with upgrades and took as many squadrons as you could, I don't think it would be possible to get to 400. And that shouldn't stop you from doing like a casual game or something at whatever point level you want just to try it out. But if you really need to play a full-sized game the month it comes out, you'd be looking at 2 cores for whatever faction you want to play. And realistically, the Squadron Packs, that's 2 of each of the 4 types of squadrons that are in them. If you're thinking about like tournament type games, what we've seen with every other Squadron Pack that's come out is everyone wants at least 2 copies, because you probably want to run more than 2 of a given kind of squadron. At least one of the kinds of squadrons in the box you'll want to. And usually there's one squadron that everyone's like, okay, this is the good one to spam, so you need 8 or 10, which would mean buying 4 or 5 of the Squadron Packs. Obviously that's not that necessary unless you're thinking about tournaments, but a lot of people will be thinking about that. So you might see those going out of stock. Otherwise, I would say if you don't need to play immediately a full-size game in December, or you don't think you want multiple of like the Munificent or Acclamator, I would probably look at buying one starter set and kind of trying it out, and then waiting for the next wave of ships, and then using those to fill out to get to a full 400 points or more. Most likely, I think 2 cores would be fine, but you're going to have an extra damage deck and extra templates and extra asteroids and stuff. Like me, I'm going to get extra one of those in every core set I buy because I already have some with the old core set, so that's all going to be a lot of stuff for me, but yeah.
Now I know we don't know the stats of everything. Well, I know some of the stuff from the core sets has been, or faction packs or whatever they're being called, have been spoiled and stuff. But we don't know everything yet, and certainly not anything about the next wave.
Yeah, I mean,
but so maybe this would be more for like you could kind of base this off of how the 2 original factions are. But how do people still use a lot of the core set or like first wave stuff from those? Because I know that was kind of like a problem, at least. Like with X-Wing 1.0 is kind of like as time went on, you had a whole bunch of TIE fighters, so you could do a TIE swarm, but then that strategy became less and less effective as time went on, and or like Legion, you bought if you wanted to play at the beginning, you had 6 sets of stormtroopers and 6 sets of rebel troopers, and there's not really any competitive lists out there that are running 6 rebel troopers or 6 stormtroopers anymore. So is the similar kind of thing happen with Armada?
I mean, there's definitely lists that use all the old ships. I don't know if there's any that are like completely worthless. And the truth is, like, the meta is constantly changing as new upgrade cards and new admirals and things like that come out. People find new uses for the old ships. Like for a while, for example, the Victory class Star Destroyer in the original core set wasn't getting used that much for a while because like Imperial class is better and all this stuff. But like when upgrades came out that work well on it, people found like new uses for them, and they're cheaper, so you can fit more in. So like they found like new life again. It's hard to predict. I wouldn't expect spamming these Wave 1 ships to be useful long term. Like personally, I'm not. Well, I don't know. I might think about 2 cores. They are cool ships, so it's really hard to say. But I think it's going to be a waste of money to spam a bunch of cores and get so many of these little ships. Maybe though, depending on the type of list, it could be fun to spam the little ones. I think at least like 1 of each ship is probably always going to be useful now and again. They always seem to come with like cool titles or something that are useful, and they can be nice filler for a fleet. But I think the utility of buying a ton of those starters is going to be kind of limited. It's hard to say though. And the question, I mean, like as far as we know, the second wave of ships is supposed to come out pretty close after it. Maybe that would end up getting delayed to like March or something, depending on how things go. But we don't know if the wave after that would come anytime soon. Yeah,
because they haven't mentioned anything.
Yeah, those could be a while,
that, right? Here's your Clone Wars. Armada's done now.
It's a complete game now.
I don't know.
So much.
The one weird thing about this, like it's cool that they announced the starter sets, so that new people can get a core and not get a faction they don't want or whatever. But the one thing that they haven't announced is standalone expansions for each of those core set ships. Every other game they've always had that you can buy everything in the core set as a standalone too. And normally I'd be saying like that's what I would do instead of buying 2 cores. But they have not announced that yet. It's not on the website, which to me implies that that's not coming and that those are only going to be in the starter set, at which point I would personally start to think about 2 of each, because it's like maybe I want to run 2 acclimators. Like that could be good even after the bigger ships come out. It's hard to say without knowing the stats, but I feel like I might.
They did do that with X-Wing, didn't they? Like with the Republic starter set. Isn't that the only place you can get torrents? They don't have torrents separately, do they?
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. For the torrents specifically, yeah, the 802 does have a standalone, but those don't. Yeah, or the Belbalab for the Separatists would be the same thing. There's a standalone Vulture, but not a standalone Belbalab. So, yeah, I guess.
And I guess technically Legion too, where you've got like your core set commanders can't be got anywhere else, but that's a little different situation.
Yeah, that you don't need to since they're unique at least. Yeah, and like the other thing here too, we didn't mention yet the card upgrade pack for any new player that I think is going to be a must buy. A lot of the cards in there are going to be for original trilogy factions, so some of those a Clone Wars player is not going to use, but a lot of them are going to be upgrades that you won't be able to get without like buying old original trilogy ships that maybe you're not using. So I think we don't know the full set of cards, I don't think, but that'll come with like a bunch of, turbo laser upgrades and shield upgrade things and different things like that that'll be like good bread and butter things for every faction. So I think one copy of that for sure will be a good buy, possibly multiple depending on how many copies of things and what cards are in there, but for sure one I think would be doing. So yeah, I think like at a minimum you'd want one starter, one squadron pack, and one card pack. 2 squadron packs would be really good, and maybe think about a second starter set. Though it would be okay. Having those more small ships for filler would be good, even after you have the new big ships that come out for the next wave. It's hard to predict, but I wouldn't assume that you definitely need 2 starter sets.
So let's say I decided to buy into or pick up the original core set, like I did. If you're watching on camera, you can see that sitting there behind me now. So I've got some Armada. Actually, I've got a little bit more than the contents of core set, but it's all Wave 1 stuff. So it's like I've got, I got some Victories and some Gladiators and a couple Nebulon Bs and Corellian Corvettes and things like that. Now, if I want to go ahead and learn how to play, because I have played before, but I haven't touched the game since it was in beta testing before the game was even released.
So I feel like you can't really say it. You've technically played it, but have you though?
Yeah, exactly. I did some. Yeah, we played some during playtesting phase before release. So it's been what at this point 5-6 years since it was even before release. Mm-hmm. So I remember basically nothing about the game, and even then, I don't know. If I did remember stuff, I could be remembering wrong rules that got changed before release. So if I want to start learning the game, where should I start? Like, is the Learn to Play guide that comes in the core set actually any good? Because I know, like, the Legion one is fine, but it also words some rules strangely, and it leaves out some rules. And I found that honestly, starting with the Learn to Play guide actually teaches players a lot of bad habits, and or they learn the rule incorrectly because of the Learn to Play guide, and then when they go to play a real game, some of them feel like I've seen people feel like they got sort of ambushed by the other player who is playing the rules correctly. And the other person just didn't understand that because the Learn to Play guide maybe steered them wrong.
Yeah, it's been a while since I did the Learn to Play. I think the Armada one is better. I think it leaves out fewer things. The only real thing is, you're playing with a fairly small list, going off just the core set. And I think it leaves out the objective cards, which are like very important for tournament play. But other than that, I think it's got all the core rules in there, really. I feel like the only type of thing that would throw people for a loop that it's not going to go into detail on is like some of the timing windows. It may not be super important until you're thinking about a tournament or something. There's like a few special cases, especially with common cards, where it's like, actually the way it's worded, this one always goes before this one, and you won't really know that without pulling up the errata document, the FAQ, and then going and seeing those things in detail. And those don't really matter for a casual game, probably anyways. But I could see someone feeling a little bit like if you went straight to a tournament, you'd probably feel out of the loop that someone was doing a card and you're like, wait, what does that do? The way it's worded and stuff like that.
Here, breakout moment. What's one thing you think a new player should know that's a commonly misplayed thing in Armada?
Gosh, good question. God, I don't know. I'll just say kind of generally. Well, I mean, like one thing is like re-rolls. Like Armada is one thing where you can re-roll dice multiple times, unlike X-Wing or some of the other games. So some people don't expect that, although maybe if you haven't played any Star Wars game, maybe you think that's normal. And I guess I would just reiterate again, like some of the timing windows can be weird without going into like a really specific example on a specific card. Like the times that you can spend certain tokens. Again, it won't matter that much if you're not using like a bunch of upgrade cards, but eventually you'll see weird combinations where the priority of one thing takes precedence in the attack timing window and stuff. Like, oh, this thing actually gets spent first, but then the effect happens later, and that only matters if you're using a specific weird upgrade card or something like that. But I don't know that it really matters if you're not going to a tournament or something either. It's not something you need to learn immediately to play. So I think I would say, like, in general, you can start with that learn to play. If you want to get into like a full-sized game, you can probably find people online on the Fantasy Flight forums or on Reddit or something to like walk you through a vassal game, and they'll probably know like a whole bunch of stuff. And like after you've got like some basic games under your belt is when you can start to like go over errata and FAQs and stuff in detail in the actual rules reference or FAQ or whatever it's called. I think a lot of the big like tournament knowledge that would throw a new player for a loop is going to be mostly about like what upgrade cards are considered good. Like there's a lot of upgrade cards out there. At least if you're, playing the original trilogy ships. And like a lot of them are not that great or only great in certain combinations, And so, like if you went to a tournament and you didn't have like someone build a list for you, that's the type of scenario where I would expect a new person to be feeling. Called out. Yeah, because they would feel like, oh, I didn't realize that you shouldn't take this many upgrades, or
I feel called out. The tournament people always bring up. Someone made a list for me, and I just kind of played it. I've never built my own Armada list. Whenever I played it, I'm like, build it for me, I'll play it.
And I mean, that's kind of true for like any of these games that aren't brand new, right? The tournament people know what is the good meta stuff, so it's kind of unavoidable. Like the other thing you would see at tournaments that you might not see if you've barely played or just barely like played out of the core set is like the specific objective cards someone would be using and what is considered the correct way to play them. I'm not saying like rules wise correct, though that could come up, but mostly like tournament players know the right effective way to play different objectives, which objectives are not worth doing, or which ones are like the easy objectives. That would be the type of trap a new player would run into. In fact, like a lot of the objective cards right now, there's a bunch that come in like the campaign boxes and stuff, so you wouldn't see those if you only have the core set, and they'd be completely new to you. But that doesn't matter for someone who's like trying the game out and doing casual matches either. So there's not really any tournaments going on right now. Maybe there's probably some Vassal ones actually, but
maybe some underground IRL, no masks allowed tournaments.
Yeah, you have to pay like $10,000 in cash, and they take your temperature at the door, and then you you quarantine in this like basement for 2 weeks, and then you play your Armada tournament, and it's like super underground. The FFG police like bust in and try to break it up. You have to sneak out through a back door, and you're like grabbing your ships.
Yeah. I don't know why I was picturing something more like Sturgis, where they're like just kind of...
I thought you were going to say Thomas Jane playing the FFG police.
FFG police. Your Legion license just got revoked.
So question, actually an inspired question. Yes, the vegan police, that's right. From chat. Is Armada, in fact, cooler than X-Wing?
Both games are cool in their own ways. X-Wing, I think, has always done a great job of making you feel like a fighter pilot, like you're trying to outguess where the person's going to turn, and it's like fast-paced and stuff like that. And Armada really makes you feel like Thrawn, like stroking his chin and considering your choices. And it does a really great job with the theming of these huge lumbering ships getting into range and doing their broadsides, and there's like all these swarms of little fighters all around. Like they both do a really great job with that. Like there's a lot of strategic thinking in Armada that scratches a different itch, I think. Like you have the objective cards built in, sort of like Legion does, and those give you alternate objectives than X-Wing would. You have to consider maybe blowing up the enemy ship here isn't the smartest. Maybe I kind of do something different to go after these objectives depending on what's going on, which is a neat side that X-Wing doesn't have. And, you have to, because of the way that like the game turns work and the length of the game, you have to be a lot more strategic about like your engagement speeds and ranges and stuff, because, X-Wing, you'll always play another turn until you run out of time, versus Armada, you're done after 6 turns, no matter what. So like if you went too slow and didn't get in range, then you didn't get a chance to attack. Or if you go too fast and overshoot, you can go off the board a lot more easily if you didn't think through your commands and stuff like that. So it's like a different type of thinking, but like I think the theming on it is very cool. It's so awesome to have these like big ships on the board that are big. I mean, there's like a little model until like the Venator comes out or whatever, but it looks so cool to see these giant things on the board. And a lot of times you roll really big dice pools, and it's not as much like X-Wing is very much about like maneuvering and trying to get behind them. And there's some of that in Armada, because like which arcs are there matters. Like if you get your Nebulon B side arc into someone's volley, you're going to be screwed. So you have to think about it a little bit, but they're not like nimble where you're like turning and getting behind. And so it's just like a very different style. It works in its own way, and it's cool. The reality is that Armada is like it takes longer to play a game, and in some ways it's slower. You're doing fewer turns that take longer compared to X-Wing. So it's kind of a different style, but like thematically it's so cool to see these big fleets on the board and stuff like that.
Yeah, I seem to remember thinking back when I played, because like with those dials, you kind of like make like a stack of orders, sort of, don't you?
Yeah, you have your command dials.
Yeah, you're basically the bigger the ship, the farther in advance you have to plan.
Yeah,
you make a
and I
stack
thought
of,
that
like,
was thematically like it did a really good job of sort of portraying how the ship is sort of like this. Once it's in motion, it's kind of doing its thing for a little while.
yeah, you have to think 3 turns ahead if you're moving a Star Destroyer, but you only have to think 1 turn at a time if you're doing like a little cruiser.
And I remember enjoying the game when we did the playtesting. It was just, I was already invested in X-Wing, and even though they are very different games, they are similar enough to where at the time I didn't want to put the time or money into investing into it.
Yeah, I mean, they're both about pushing ships around, and you'll see some of the same characters in both games. Sometimes a character will have similar abilities in both games, like Biggs Darklighter or something, because it's like, well, that's what he does, so it's a pretty similar role in both. But a lot of them are very different, so it's kind of fun to get, when you're kind of thinking about the lore and stuff, you're seeing, Officer Ahsoka is a very different use to your fleet compared to Fighter Pilot Ahsoka or whatever,
So, are you, in fact, incredibly excited for the day when the Final Order becomes a playable faction in Armada?
God. No. Some of the sequel ships are really cool. I think it would be hard for them to do, like, full fleets that feel complete. I mean, like, honestly, today, if you wanted to play something close to the Final Order, you could buy Imperial ships and do the Onager class Star Destroyer that has sort of a super laser type thing built in, and like you can already do that today. Or, honestly, what a lot of people do,
just buy Imperial class Star Destroyers and then put your face 10% closer so it looks slightly larger.
Well, the truth is, there's a lot of people that use the existing cards, but then they buy 3D printed ships that look like whatever, and they just proxy those and still play with those, including, Evan, there's ships from the Old Republic that people buy and do whole fleets of, but then they just use Imperial stats or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you can do that with sequel ships too.
I just saw a really cool, what was it? What's it called? Like the Pillar of Autumn or something like that from Halo?
Yeah, that's the ship from Halo.
A pillar of something.
Halo had its own spaceship fleet game at one point. It seemed like a weird choice for a Halo miniatures game to make it about space combat, but
oh yeah, it did.
I remember seeing it on the shelves. I never heard if it went beyond like the one release, basically, but they were kind of cool models.
Well, there's another game like I see at our store all the time that has a lot of ships that look almost, but not quite like ships from the Covenant. So I kind of wonder if like that's if that game morphed into that or something weird.
Oh, they lost the license, but they're like, we keep making this game.
Or maybe it's sort of like when Decipher lost the Star Wars license and they tried to keep making the Star Wars card game as just a generic IP, and they called the game Wars. Just
yeah, that's never gonna work.
Do you have any of that game?
I do actually have some.
Wow.
I found like 1 or 2 starter decks at Big Nick's one time when I was in there.
Okay, better or worse than Dune?
I mean, technically it's the exact same system as the Star Wars CCG, just without Star Wars in it. So
okay.
Better than the Dune CCG, I'm gonna say.
Is anything? Okay.
I mean, sure, I did not get to invent my own, Landsred house and, drop a constitution and whatever other wacky shit you have to do before you can even start playing the game. That's actually in the rule books, Kurt.
Wow.
For the Dune CCG, you have to make a constitution.
Yep.
Yeah, there's something like that. I think that's actually for like tournament play or whatever, where you're supposed to make up your own house and all this stuff. It's
So like, I play this card and I'm going to draw 2 from my deck. That's unconstitutional. You can't do that.
I mean, it would be like if 40K didn't let you play as the existing Space Marines chapters. You had to like invent a new one, and then they would check, like when you register, they'd be like, okay, we're going to go in. Those colors are already used by this one registered by someone in Kansas, so I don't think this is illegal. You're stealing their chapter.
I would love it if that was a rule.
You're infringing. You get the game, you're like, oh, I can't wait to paint them my favorite colors, but first I got to go on the website, check to make sure no one else is already painting this color.
Literally, I think everyone would be doing that. You know, like you see sometimes where people, like, they take the, like, color in a Space Marine thing and they like give it to their like 3-year-old and let them color it, and then they paint a Space Marine based on whatever crazy ass color scheme their kid colors on their. That's just what everyone would do. Everyone would be like, all right, I guess, because they let their 3-year-old, and then they'll be like, okay, there's no way no one else has Marines where one shoulder pad is pink, the other one is green. He is got a bright red codpiece and green and purple stripes on his legs. I'm good. And
then you run into that guy who has it, and he's like, you're both like, damn it.
All right, so Armada. With the most fascist. So tell us, what is the name of the most fascist chapter, Christian?
of the Space Marine chapters.
Yes, which is the most fascist of them?
I'll wait to see what he says. This is totally staying in the episode.
For that case, for listeners, we're looking at the Patron Chat.
Yes, you too can tell us your thoughts. If you become a patron, you get to join the exclusive Patron Lounge. It's as exclusive as the Collector's Edition store in SWTOR.
Don't even... you had to mention it.
Of course I did. Yes, Chapter Adolphus is by far the most fascist. Just as the Ultramarines are based on ancient Rome, the Adolphus chapter is based on 1930s Germany.
Oh, is that a real thing? I was assuming he was making that up.
Not.
Yeah,
we are making
okay.
Okay. I mean, what does it say that I was like, I don't know if you're making things up or not. You could have said that's real, and I'd been like, all right, seems like something a miniatures game would do.
The video tonight makes me realize I really need to rotate my AT-AT because it looks like he's been like...
He's sad.
He's been misbehaving, and I put him in the corner as punishment.
Oh, dear. Okay,
or he's sick.
So,
pets will shove their head against the wall if they have a headache, and you got to take them to the vet. You should take him to the vet.
Oh, poor AT-AT. All right, let's see here. We're sitting at about an hour in. Do we have any more pertinent questions for Kurt?
Do we actually want to wrap up the episode with some actual more Armada talk?
I think we ought to. I asked my question about, like, I feel hyped, and this is true. Like, I honestly feel hyped. I go to the game store, and I'm like, well, am I just going to wait till December? But, I mean, I would like to play... I think this is the one instance where I would like to play as Imperials, because their ships are the coolest.
Right.
Yeah, there's like, I don't know, somewhere between 7 and 10 different types of Star Destroyer that you can put on the board.
That's okay with me.
Yeah, like, there's something about the stupid triangle ships.
What is stupid about them? They're like one of the most iconic spaceships.
I know. No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, They are literally just triangles. They are like pizza wedges. They're like Trivial Pursuit wedges, but they're so cool.
That's why I'm worried I might have to buy Republic too, just because it's to up my triangle count.
Yeah, just have Republic and Empire, and you're good.
I mean, I like that the Rebels have a lot of color. They're fun to repaint and stuff. But, that doesn't stop Imperial players sometimes. I've seen like purple and red and different colored Star Destroyers too. People paint them whatever they want, so...
Yeah, I can't remember when I asked that question, but I'm sure the other two can tell me when I asked this of painting the squadrons. And man, they showed me some pictures that people did, and just like, how on earth?
We showed you pictures of Kurt's stuff.
Oh, was it Kurt stuff? Well, there you go.
Yeah, I posted mine,
Kurt's,
and I feel like they're okay. There's some really wild ones out there.
Yeah, I've seen some people who... I mean, they paint those little Armada ships to look better than, some of the factory paint jobs for X-Wing minis sometimes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, as far as the new ones go, I think the Separatist ones will be pretty easy because they're almost monocolor on all of them. You can do just like a little bit of washing and highlighting, and those would be real quick compared to a TIE fighter. Oh, TIE fighters suck. And like X-Wings or Arcs or something are fairly simple, but they've got some stripes and things. And the Delta 2, whatever those, Delta 7, whatever, those should be pretty easy. They're just a little triangle. Y-Wings have a little more detail. Interceptor? Yeah.
Yep. The Jedi.
But there's some stripes on there too, especially, people are going to try to paint Plo Koon or whatever, and there's going to be like all these crazy stripes going everywhere, and they are very tiny, and that can make it difficult. They take more time than you might expect because you're trying to get the little details. At the same time, at some point you have to sort of be honest with yourself and say, like, you know what, like, you can't get all the details on, you can't get all the stripes because there's no way, because they'd be too small. So you kind of have to like simplify it and be like, okay, well, one big stripe will look good enough from a distance. It doesn't have to be all the little markings like on an X-Wing. And then that kind of frees you up to be like, oh, okay, this can be a really simple paint job. But yeah, I think Separatists, especially like the Bubble Lab, just be like solid silver, with a cockpit, and like the droid ones will be like solid brown or whatever. I think those will be pretty easy to get really nice looking. So it just takes a while because there's like so many little ones, and you're like trying to hold on to a little tiny... You put it on the peg probably, and you're trying to hold this and paint it, so it can be kind of a pain. But in some ways, they kind of go fast too. It depends.
With those little guys, do you prime them at all, or do you just paint right on the plastic? Since they're
I've always just painted right on the plastic. Like, I basically hand base coat it with my brush. Like, I don't know how you could do it with like a spray primer. Like, they're gonna blow off the peg, and it's just gonna be ridiculous. So yeah, I kind of hand base coat it like gray, for example, for a TIE fighter with my brush, and you really, really do notice the paint beating up when you're doing it that way. So it kind of like takes a couple coats to really get it solid enough to stick. I would guess it wouldn't be too hard with an airbrush, as long as you masked the peg well.
Out of curiosity, you just paint them like that, then just straight out of the box? Or do you have you tried scrubbing them like with just a little bit of soap and water beforehand? I'm just wondering if maybe that would decrease the...
It might. I've never tried washing them because it seems like a pain to like sit and try to actually get it in your fingers. But that could make a difference if you want to spend the time on it. I mean, you could probably pour them all loose into a tub basically and shake it around. Maybe that would be good enough rather than trying to get each one's wings or whatever.
Get one of those like rock polishing tumblers that I really wanted when I was a kid.
I had one of those as a kid. It was so fun.
It was like they always had them in the book orders. It's all like books.
I forgot I had that. It was really cool.
Rock polishing tumbler.
little thing, and
I was like, Mom,
I'd go on a little.
Can I get the rock polisher? No, that's like $50. Here, you get another Hardy Boys book instead, or something like that. From the book.
I'd pick up the rocks on the gravel. I'm like, these are boring rocks, and I'd throw them in there, and I'd go, and I'd pull them out later, and then these are those like the rocks you get when you every tourist trap in like the middle of the country where they got the like little bins full of shiny smooth rocks.
Tourist rocks, yeah, of course. And the next thing you know, we're gonna have the official Jodo cast penny machine.
We'll send. Actually, that's our next patron reward. Is we're gonna just polish up some gravel. There you go, tourist rocks. Nah, these are actual special rocks, hand-picked.
These are your Kyber crystals from
sourced.
Ilum.
There you go. The strongest patrons are made of Kyber. So yeah, like I've been saying this whole time, the one demo I played of Armada at the time, I was like, wow, this is better than X-Wing. Of course, back then I was on a massive multi-year losing streak with X-Wing. But I've always kind of liked it, and I've always looked for an opportunity to get into it. Joe, how do you feel? Do you think this might be the time to be looking into Armada?
I'm not sure what you're laughing at.
Chat stuff.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Patron Chat.
It was an odd time for the laughter, but Patron Chat is great. I'm just saying, everybody.
Well, if you're watching the video, you can see the chat now. But only the patrons get to see the video, so sorry if you feel left out.
Well, there you go.
Well,
read even more reasons.
I'm gonna play the consumer advocate here. I'd like you to read out what's in the chat, because it's probably really, really annoying to be listening to us reacting to something and then having no idea what it is.
What, am I reading it?
That's the whole marketing technique. Is we annoy them until they're like, well, I have to pay to figure out what is going on here.
Like, I could stop listening.
It makes sense to me.
Okay, so Joe.
Yes.
How are you feeling about Armada? Do you think now might be the time for you to get yourself a Republic starter come December? Put it on your Christmas list. Say, hey, Mom and Dad, you can send me a Republic core set and a Republic Squadron set, and you'll have my undying love.
No.
No?
I think the Armada ship has sailed for me. Mostly because it's a time, money, and space issue for me. I haven't officially given up on X-Wing yet, but I haven't played it in a long time and haven't been keeping up with some of the newer releases. Armada, it's expensive. It'll be expensive to keep up. Time, I already don't have enough time to play these games, in a normal world where I can play these games. That time goes towards Legion. Don't want to. If I'm going to split my time with another game, it'd probably be X-Wing, because I have a lot of it. And then it's got to fit it on my shelf, and then I also got to keep buying new stuff while I'm trying to buy new stuff for Legion, and I don't think it's in the cards for me.
I see now. I'm starting up in the game, obviously, since I bought that. Like I said, I got about 2 cores worth of stuff, plus. All right, no, I think it's 2 cores worth of one core worth of stuff plus
all the Wave 1.
1 pack of everything from Wave 1. So, so a fair amount, and I got it all for like $40, $50, something like that.
That's a great deal.
Pretty good deal. And that's the main reason. Like, I think if I was going to, I don't think I would have bought into the game right now at full price. Mm-hmm. But because I got the deal, now I'm going to play it. But see, the thing is I don't feel the need to play it on a super serious or competitive level or anything like that. So I'm just going to occasionally pick up a ship I want whenever I want it, not feel like, oh, here's a new wave, I've got to buy one of everything or whatever, like I'm doing with Legion right now. And I used to do with X-Wing back when I played during X-Wing 1.0. I feel I'm not taking X-Wing as seriously these days either, and I feel a lot less pressure to purchase, and instead of buying one of everything when it comes out, because I mean, back then it was sort of like, okay, well, I need all this stuff to play, and then also I just want these ships as displays. So even if I am never ever going to fly a Skurg bomber, I'm still buying at least one, you know.
And I think the nice thing right now about coming in with these new factions is, since there's only a few ships announced right now, you know, it's not something that you'll have to buy a ton of ships for right away. I think for a new player, it's like a really nice time to get in. And
if I did,
I'd a bunch of storage.
Probably be Republic. But like I said, it's also just a matter of time. When am I ever going to have time to play this game? Because when I find time to play board games with people, it's either for Legion, or it's going to be, you know, meeting up to play non-miniature games.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'll just say, like, locally, Armada's really been dead, basically, for a long time. But suddenly, once this stuff was announced, we had, like, I don't know, 5 new people who all said they're going to buy into it. And, you know, maybe most of them won't stick with it for a long time. We probably won't have that many events and stuff, but, like, it's really cool to see suddenly there's a bunch of interest. And some of those people, like Leo, have started buying the old ships already to get ready. So even though the Clone Wars is what got them interested, they're buying all the old stuff too. So it's cool to see it suddenly feeling revitalized, and like we'll be able to do some matches again sometime, you know?
Yeah, I know there's a fairly decently sized local group here, but
once I feel like, you know, I'm not hanging out with a bunch of plague bearers at the store.
Yeah.
Poxwalkers. So, I think we're going to start wrapping it up. So, thank you very much, Kurt, for coming on and sharing more of your Armada knowledge with us. It's always fun to have you on. We should have you on for non-Armada nights, too. That would be a good thing to do. But my last question for you, and this isn't like a nice end cap question, it's just the last one that popped into my head. With the releases being kind of spread out, and it doesn't seem like there's nearly as many releases for Armada as like with X-Wing or even Legion, is it fair to say it's the kind of game where you can just buy a few pieces, a few expansions, and that's just kind of it? That's all you really need? Because there's not the need to keep buying the newest thing because it'll have the one card that you absolutely need to have?
Well, before now, you definitely have, if you've wanted to, you know, be competitive at tournaments or have a complete collection, you have needed to buy stuff from, you know, factions that you aren't really interested in, stuff like that. I feel like that could be changing going forward with the Clone Wars stuff, and certainly like with this upgrade card pack, stuff like that. And the way they've done with other games, it kind of feels like they're moving away from that, where you don't really need to. But I'll say this, all the models are cool, and you're going to want to buy all of them.
Yep, that sounds like every other miniature game that I've been suckered into buying into.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, does anybody else have any questions for Kurt while he's here?
What's your favorite ship in Armada?
That's a good question.
Oh man, yeah, that's
okay. Pick one.
hard.
Pick your favorite one from each faction.
For Rebels, I've honestly probably flown like CR90s the most. Just they're like easy to put into any list, and they're like pretty okay bread and butter little guys flying around. For Empire, I don't know. The Gladiator Star Destroyer is really cool. I love the look of it. It like rushes up really fast and tries to unload some missiles and fly out. I think that's a fun one. But, I haven't flown the last couple waves. I haven't flown the Super Star Destroyer yet. I haven't flown the Onager or the Starhawk. So, it's hard to pick. Like, there's a bunch of cool Mon-Cal things, and there's like so many cool different, like, you can, for Empire, you can do the interdictor and like tractor beam people and stuff. Like, there's lots of just different cool things.
So you don't have a favorite?
I love all my children equally.
Do you have a least favorite?
Man, I mean, like, I love the look of the Nebulon B, but its stats suck. Poodoo. It just dies so easily. I don't know. People in tournaments find lots of uses for them and stuff, but I always regret when I take them, even though I love the models,
Well, I look forward to a time in the near future, Kurt, when we will actually be able to get together at the store and play a few games.
Yeah, we'll get some fleets on the table. We'll roll dice, blow some stuff up.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Kurt, and thank you, Joe, thank you, Leo, thank you, patrons, for hanging out with us tonight. It's always a blast. And, we look forward to talking with you all next time, and you can look for this episode to be up and available for the rest of the patrons who weren't able to join us tonight. They will be able to see it within 24 hours? Is that fair to say, Joe?
Yeah, the video recording...
Roughly 48.
Yeah, close enough. If you want to watch this,
all right,
watch it with your eyeballs and it not be edited at all. If that's what you're into, you can do that if you're a patron.
Excellent. Once again, thanks everybody, and we will talk with you next time.